What's up, guys? I have a real treat for you today. This was a conversation that I had with my friend Soren, who just finished a 100-mile race out in Ouray, Colorado. It was 40 hours of just straight running with 42,000 feet of elevation gain included. This man is a straight-up savage, and he's the closest thing to Jack Sparrow that I've ever met in my life. He is one of the most adventurous and wild people that I've ever met. And yeah, the following is just a really sweet conversation that I got to have with him, kind of hearing his story and his experience of what it was like to run the Ouray 100. He finished 14th out of 100, and this was only his third ultra ever, which even the fact that it was a 100-miler is mind-blowing to me and crazy. But yeah, this was just a kind of candid conversation that I got to record and have with him, and he is just a delightful person, so I'm sure you will enjoy it. And without further ado, let's get right into the interview. What up, boss man?
I'm a good podcaster. Bring my own mic.
I'm curious, in general, how you got into running, and then especially ultra running, as that just to me seems like this insurmountable mountain of effort and skill, low-key, that I just can't imagine doing. So like, what were like the grassroots moments for you of like, I think I want to start running farther than 26.2?
I don't have a really good origin story. I should probably make one up because I
Probably should.
I'm just I'm like a goobers. I didn't really run as a kid, but
Okay.
I was hyperactive, so I would just run around the open space and build forts and
Yeah.
hike and stuff.
Yeah.
And
You would sword fight with Zach.
sword fight with my buddy, typical cringy homeschooler, building rafts, dressing up in costumes.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the opposite of the story you want to tell for
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
And I've always really needed to move a lot
Okay.
and do fitness stuff, and I had always kind of been interested in stacking fitness on top of each other, doing a dance lesson and then a martial arts lesson and a 14er.
Sure.
And then
Is there a reason you had that need to always move?
yeah,
What's kind of behind that?
I was diagnosed with autism
Okay.
when I was a kid, and I was very, very hyperactive.
Yep.
And absolutely really need tactile physical input.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting. So that energy output kind of traces it back to a bit of an alternate psychology you have.
yeah, for sure. It's just movement's been the main study of my life. It's
Yeah.
the thing that I obsess over, as cringy as that sounds, I don't know, but it's anything that I could take a class in movement wise.
Yeah.
I would gymnastics or parkour, one of those
Yeah,
kids, or climbing or swimming or running.
So cardio was kind of built into you from a very young age, just because you couldn't stop moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just hyperactive. you know?
Yeah. So when did that become you have running shoes, you're starting to look at your pace, you're starting to pay attention more to the running aspect?
I still don't really pay attention to my pace. I
Even though you're freaking crushing. That's so sick.
I think I started running a little bit as therapy of just, it's an easy way to go to workout to keep yourself sane when you can't do something that's physically challenging in a technical sense, like dance.
Yeah.
And then also I had a bet with a friend at one point. We were talking about marathons, and I was saying, I think someone could run a marathon without training. And he's like, oh no, there's no way. And I was
I've heard so many people say that.
definitely you could run it without training. And so then
And you tried that?
yeah, I tried it. So I did it.
No way.
And,
Okay, how'd that go?
it hurt a lot.
And you did it.
But I did it.
No freaking way. When was this?
This was freshman year of college.
Okay. And was that your first time being in an organized race?
I'd done 2 5Ks before that.
Great. Nice ramp up into it.
That's the natural progression. They say if you can run a 5K, you can run a marathon.
They being you.
Yeah, well, I think you don't even need the 5K personally.
I mean, if you're Soren, if you're freaking
well, that's
Soren.
what my friend said was, that doesn't prove anything. You're just a freak. And I was like, well,
That proves that you're a freak is what it is.
yeah. So I feel like I won the bet, and he feels more certain than ever.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, 2 5Ks, a marathon, like, what was that, like 6, 7 years ago, something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so what's your journey been since then?
I was in college. I majored in dance. And then I wanted to do something big fitness wise out of college. I'd kind of read a lot of the classic ultra running books that people have written. There's like
Okay.
the Ultra Marathon Man, Dean Karnazes, and the Born to Run. I was, oh, I want to do
Okay.
that. The David Goggins, the all these different ultra runners. I think I
Yeah.
could do that. I want to do that. I imagine myself doing that.
Yeah.
And then I decided to do an Ironman because that seemed like the scariest goal. Because I
Okay.
was a pretty bad swimmer.
Yeah.
I got like could stop myself from drowning, but that was about
Not much
it.
more than that.
Yeah, and didn't bike at all, and it was just that seemed scary and fun and different. So
And up until you had decided to do that, like the last organized race you had done was a marathon, or had you continually done marathons after that?
last one was a marathon. I think I ran one ultra on my own outside of that.
Okay.
So I just to see if I could do it, I ran.
You just left your house one day and ran.
Yeah, I ran like 45 miles or something.
Okay. Where was that?
I ran from Westminster up into Lyons, just
Wow.
along the side of the highway.
Okay.
I like got out of my martial arts class and
You literally left a workout.
I left my martial arts class. I like put some running shoes on and my headphones and I just walked out my door and I ran along the highway until I hit like 45 miles or something.
Unreal.
And then by that time it was morning because I started at like 10 p.m. or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I called my friend. I was like, "Hi, I don't want to run anymore. Can you come pick me up?"
Your like feet are just a bloody mess.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Okay. And so that was your first foray into like ultra running or going further than
Yeah.
a marathon. And that was 2 years ago.
That was probably about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then since then, how many have you done?
Now I've done 2 100K races,
Okay.
which is about 62 miles ish,
Okay.
and 100-mile race,
Okay.
and the Ironman.
And so the 100-mile race was the last one you did, right?
That's the most recent one I did.
Okay, so that I want to know about the 100-mile race. What race was it? What were sort of the parameters of that one?
It was a 100-mile race. It's called the Ouray 100. It's in Ouray, Colorado, which is like the Swiss Alps of America.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
That's
beautiful
insane.
area. And parameters. It was really steep and really hard.
Okay.
And
What was the altitude gain?
altitude gain was 41,800 or something.
Okay.
And
Just
then
under 42.
same amount of loss.
Okay.
And I didn't believe it was going to be really hard. I was like, oh yeah, it's steep, but I don't really know what these numbers mean. Turns out it was really hard.
Okay. Would you say the hardest one you've done so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Hands down. Like way harder than any other effort.
Okay. Because what was the longest you had done before that?
Longest my first 100K, I took a wrong turn and I ended up running 65 miles. So that was
Okay.
instead of 62.
Okay.
And that was the longest effort before this.
Okay. So you're tacking on another 38 miles.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So talk to me, like, how do you get ready for a 100-mile race in the mountains?
You run a lot.
Okay.
And you hike a lot.
Like, what's your specific method? Like, what kind of training do you do to like get ready for something like that?
My method is bad. I was like recovering from a knee injury. And so I actually
From the last one.
from my last one, I
Yeah.
had an IT band flare up.
Yeah.
And so I was keeping pretty light mileage. They generally recommend like heavier mileage.
Okay.
I also like to pretend that I know what I'm doing and I just make up a bunch of stuff like, oh yeah, you could train this way. My theory is that for an ultra, any kind of activity that isn't crazy hard, maximum effort
Sure.
is going to add to it. And so I'll do a specific activity like running, hiking once a day,
Yep.
and then I'll go climbing with a friend, go take a dance class, go take a martial arts class, and then maybe do another run or something.
Just decathlon everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's way more interesting. It's like you're happier,
Yeah.
and I think it helps.
Okay.
I think that
This is a theory you have.
it's a theory. I
Okay.
think the martial arts and the dance, where you're like moving your feet on a mat, you're getting mat burn, you're like beating your feet up, dancing. I think that helps a lot with the blisters. That helps with
Yeah.
the pounding.
Yeah, I'm
You're
sure.
constantly working, and you're also just training your body of like you can keep going. You can always do more effort. You always have another step.
Yeah. So your method is just like be working out in some capacity, mostly involving cardio, like 50 to 60% of your day, at least.
Yeah, as much as you can.
Okay.
And just tack it in there and say some of my keys are say yes to any time anyone wants to just do something physical.
Okay.
Because
that's sick.
You're not going to be motivated to, I don't know. I think people are not going to be motivated to do activities by themselves.
Sure.
David Goggins is like the tough ultra marathon guy. He's like, you got to find
himself.
that inner motivation. And I'm like, well, just when your friend says, hey, you want to go hike the Flatiron? Yeah.
Right.
And then someone else says, you want to go
more relational for you. Because not only are you investing in your fitness, but this is invitation based. This is relationship based. This is time with people.
Yeah.
Which is sick.
Yeah. It's time with people, and you can learn different movement forms. You can have community, and it just, you're exploring other things. You're not fatiguing yourself on a specific movement.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of people who do Ironmans and ultra stuff say that it's like really lonely. And that's like one of the hardest parts of it. Is just like you don't really get to be with people very much because you're just literally hours and hours are spent on the road or whatever. And honestly, that's a sick hack to like get through that, is like have a buddy and always say yes to like some sort of activity. And yeah, I just think it's cool that there's like the multifaceted, like you're not just investing in running. You're an insane climber. You're an insane. What type of martial arts do you do?
I did Aikido, and then more recently I've done jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai.
Okay, cool. So you just do all of it.
Anything I can. I'm like, if you get me started talking about movement, I'm so nerdy. Be like, oh yeah. And so then you have breakdancing where you have these poses called freezes, and that's really the exact same as yoga hand balances, but the methodology, I just
it's so cool. Well, what is it about the movement of like running that interests you? Because to me, that almost is like such a basic, boring one, and you're in your whole like vocabulary of movement, that it's like interesting to me that you're still down to like do it for 100 miles.
I think it's freedom, locomotion, and then the internal like sensation and ability to just push yourself.
Yeah.
It's like what happens when I get this tired, when I'm working this hard, when like systems start failing. That's fascinating.
Sure. Yeah, that's cool. So I want to go back to the 100-miler.
Yeah.
Walk me through like 48 hours / 28 hours, 24 hours, like before the race. Like what is there anything you can do before you're about to like demolish your body like that to prepare?
Theoretically, you taper and you stop exercising like at least the week before. The weekend before the race, you stop exercising, you rest a lot, you maybe do some light activity, kind of maybe 1 or 2 easy runs in the beginning of the week, or some yoga and stuff.
Okay.
And then lots of sleeping, lots of resting.
Sure.
And
if we take it out of the theoreticals, what did you do?
I just had fun. I did some scrambling in the Flatirons. I think I did a 14er the weekend before. I just like did a few more runs, and then like a few days before I just like picked my partner up from the airport. We went, hung out, climbed, drove around, and then go time.
Just sent it to Ouray.
Yeah.
Okay. And was there like a last meal before death type thing?
Yes. What did we have? I remember it was mac and cheese.
Nice.
Yeah. Usually like carbs and noodles.
Yeah.
And just like butter and a lot, but something that's not going to upset your stomach. Like I love spicy food.
Yeah.
But I don't usually eat really spicy food the night before my race. Good I say usually as if I know what I'm doing, but I've done 3 races ever.
Yeah, 3 ultras.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've also pirated all the rest of my official races.
Okay.
Don't tell anyone.
Pirated?
Yeah. So my Ironman was the first thing I ever signed up for. All the rest of them, you just like sneak in the line and you.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
No way.
I don't have records or anything.
What's it called when you do that at like a class in college?
Auditing.
You like you audit a race.
I'm stealing that.
No way. I did not know that. That's hilarious. So you audit races.
Yeah. I don't know how ethical that is, but
yeah, I don't know. We won't mention names here.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay, but so moving forward a little bit, you've prepared, you had your mac and cheese. Walk me through race day on 100 miles. Like, what time are you waking up? What's the start line look like? And honestly, just give me the story of the race. Like, what happened?
Yeah. It was a late start. I think we started at like 7 or 7:30 or something.
Okay.
Um, everyone piles up there. They're all scary looking ultra runners. They're like tats. They're like super weather beaten, and they're
Yeah, the
just
gnarly Colorado people.
yeah, they're just all these gnarly Colorado people, and I'm just like smiling,
Yeah.
having a good time. I go to the front like a goon because I figure I'll go out really hard, which is the thing you're not supposed to do.
Okay.
Um,
Nice.
just to show everyone that I'm really inexperienced.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to flex inexperience.
Just a
on
flex.
them.
Yeah, I'll make the classic mistake. Pick me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and they kind of go through the rules a little bit.
How many people are at the start line with you?
This one was 97
Okay.
participants.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then they blow the horn and you shuffle off.
Okay.
And y'all start running together. People kind of start separating.
Have you
into
like made
packs.
friends at this point, or like chosen some people to like maybe go with, or are you kind of just in your own zone?
I think people are pretty talkative in the beginning. There's a lot of joking around. Pretty friendly. A few people put in their headphones, but for the most part, everyone's just like excited to get going. Everyone's running a little faster than they need to be.
At the start, yeah.
Yeah. And then you're just slowly kind of finding paces that work for you, gauging it out. Yeah.
Okay. And so, yeah, what did that look like? Like, how many miles in did you sort of decide, like, okay, this is something I can sustain for a while?
Well, I felt the opposite. At like 10 miles in, I was feeling it in my legs.
Okay.
I was like, oh, my legs are wobbly, and
Does it start uphill?
it starts uphill. I mean, the whole thing is almost entirely uphill or just downhill the way you came.
Right. There's very little flat.
Very little flat.
For 100 miles.
Yeah. So 10
Makes me
miles
wanna
in,
cry.
yeah, 10 miles in, I was like, oh, I guess they did say this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
But I felt like pretty confident about sustaining it the whole time
Okay.
because I'm really cocky.
Nice.
Yeah, big ego.
Yeah.
Ego,
Huge.
brain.
Yeah.
Ego.
Skill level.
I don't know. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So what are like the mile marks you sort of remember? Like, I'm sure it was kind of like a haze, and you probably, it's like a strange memory to recall because your body's in such a weird state the entire time. But what are like sort of the milestone moments you remember through that race?
That was shocking to me because I was daunted by the distance. It's a lot more than 62 miles. It's almost double.
Yeah.
And I was just expecting to be counting down every mile and like hitting those markers. But because it was so steep, you actually broke it down mentally into like 14 different climbs.
Okay.
As if you're doing 14 different peaks instead of trying to run mileage. I didn't think about mileage almost at all.
You're like, I'm just gonna climb a bunch of mountains.
I'm just gonna climb a bunch of mountains.
14.
Yeah. Just do a bunch of 14ers.
Yeah.
Some of the things that like stood out to me, there was one aid station where everyone quits a lot.
Oh, interesting.
You kind of hit it in the peak of the day. It's also a really good place to quit. It's off the main highway, kind of going towards the $1 Million Highway.
Okay.
So your crew can come pick you up. It's a brutal part of the race. They've got a great aid station. They've got food, medical care, easy to get to. And so I hit that aid station, and I was I have to get through this as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I need to just like
just not even think
just
about
not
it.
think about it. It's not an option. Crank through it.
Yeah.
So that was my first mile mark. I'm trying to remember. I think that might have been like mile 40 or something.
Okay.
And then that was huge. Once I got past, you had 3 laps at that one too. Or you do.
Oh, wow.
no, 3. Yeah, 3 laps I think.
Okay.
Where you are going around this like kind of exposed deserty red stone mountain. You go around one way and then you come back the other way.
Oh.
And you hit the aid station 3 times, 2
Okay.
laps, 3 times.
Okay.
When I finished the final lap, I was so excited. I wolfed down a ton of food and then just like, get out of here.
Yeah. How does eating work? How does food work? And like, also, how long are you running for? I have a lot of questions. Right
42 hours.
Okay. You ran for 42
ran
hours
for 42
straight.
hours.
Did you sleep?
No sleeping.
Okay.
Pretty much no resting other than sitting down to like bandage your feet,
Yeah.
eat some food.
Okay. And so, yeah, how does eating work?
You eat as much as you can.
Where? Like, who's feeding you? Where does this food come from?
You have like a lightweight running vest.
Yeah.
You are packing like Snickers bars and gels and gummies and a banana or like whatever you can.
Yeah.
Then there's aid stations that the course provides, and you can also drop your own bags at them.
Okay.
Where you can put anything you want in them. And then for me personally, I try and eat like every 20 minutes.
Oh,
it's
wow.
just like consume calories.
Like your stomach's like full almost always.
If you're trying to pack as many calories as you possibly can.
Okay.
Um, and that's something that really gets people, is getting into a calorie deficit, because you start getting flavor fatigue. You
Yeah.
don't want to eat. Nothing sounds good. You don't feel like you need to eat.
Okay.
And you just stop eating, and then your just energy levels just crash, and then your body can't continue exercising and catch up on calories at the same time,
Okay.
unless you stay on top of it the whole race, pretty much.
Okay, dang. So you're like in maintenance mode as much as you are in perform mode.
Yes, like people will joke it's an eating and drinking race with some running in between.
No way.
Yeah, it's like professional eating.
That's hilarious.
You just eat as much as you could. And I even like made a nutrition mistake where before I've had gels, because they're provided by the race, but they're kind of expensive.
Okay.
And so I don't get them for myself. And so I got a lot more candy-esque stuff for myself.
Nice.
And it's fast sugar, but it doesn't have protein like the gels do.
Sure.
Or fats. And I didn't eat enough of my fats that I had, like some nut butters and stuff.
Okay.
And even just eating sugar, you know, that much, you just burn it and then it's gone. And so even the first night I was in a little bit of a hole where I just needed to sit down. I ate like 2 bowls of mashed potatoes and like a cup of ramen, and then slowly started to get those calories back and slowed my pace down a little bit.
Sure.
And it was just because like I just even didn't have enough fats and proteins, even though I was eating every 20 minutes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You say the first night. Do you do 2 nights? I'm guessing because you start and then 40 hours later. Is that 2 nights
that's the
later?
second night. So I finished at like 2 or 3 a.m. on the second night.
How do you even like run through the mountains at night?
Like
Like you're running down a steep mountain in the middle at like 2 a.m.
Well, you got to remember we're really slow at this point.
Yeah.
First off. So let's not make it like sound cooler than it is.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's kind of gnarly in some senses of like you start hallucinating. You can get like really, it's mentally one of the hardest parts.
Yeah.
And you just, you start seeing things, you start losing motivation. A lot of people stop eating and drinking in the night because you're finally cooled down. You're feeling sleepy. You don't feel like you're in a race as much.
Okay.
And so, people stop eating, and that's really your time to catch up as much as you can.
Oh, interesting. In your head, you're like, I'm going to like take ground on some people here.
Yes. Well, not necessarily take ground on people. I definitely to take ground on people, but more to catch up on your calories and hydration.
Okay.
Because you're not hot anymore. So you don't have you're like can drink, and it's going towards like building your hydration back up.
Not just cooling you off.
Yeah, not just like immediately being used.
Yeah.
And then it helps a ton to have a pacer or find a friend. So I fortunately ran into this guy who I'd run a previous ultra with.
Oh, cool.
And we like ran into each other. I was like, oh, Jeff, oh my gosh, so good to see you. Got to like get to know each other more.
Like mid-race.
Yes.
No
Actually,
way.
just as night fell.
Oh,
like,
cool.
He caught up to me, and then I was like, I am so glad to see you.
Yeah,
like,
so he's kind of the godsend. Dude.
Yeah. No, it was, and we just talked about it. We were just like, this would have been so much more brutal if I hadn't had you, because we like paced each other through that segment.
Sure.
And it was just having that companionship, that talking. You think about the night a little bit less. You're like, it keeps you awake, it's a little stimulated. You can kind of keep each other in check. You're like, hey, you want a Snickers bar?
Well, and this is so much more like your training too.
Yes.
Where your training is like relational, so it makes sense that your racing would also be relational.
Totally.
And like, yeah, I guess for anyone, that's a huge boost.
And I think it's a cool thing about like, at least some of the ultras. I don't know a lot about the ultra community yet, but it seems to be like, you know, even though like people are competing, it's like, oh yeah, let's stick together for this part.
Right.
It'll benefit both of us.
Yeah.
And that was super cool.
So you talked about hallucinations earlier. Did that start like night 1, or was that even before that?
It sort of started at night 1, but not so much for me. Like really the second night I started seeing things. And
like what kind of things?
Well, so here's the thing is some ultra runners like Courtney, who's one of the best, Courtney DeWater, or I think that's how you say the name.
Okay.
Fact check me on that. But she has like talked about like, I saw a tiger playing a cello in the woods. And I was like, oh man, this could be interesting. I could
like
see
she's
some
like straight up on mushrooms.
Yeah, just like hallucinating. And I'm excited to see what happens the second night.
Oh, you're looking forward to it.
I'm curious. I'm fast. I'm like, what's gonna happen? I'm so intrigued.
You're so psycho.
And then I'm running, and I had the most boring hallucinations you could ever have. It was just like, I didn't know we had stick bugs in Colorado. oh, that's just a stick. It's just like
You just think that
semi-plausible
the sticks
things.
are crawling around.
Yeah, it's just like the sticks are crawling, or it'll be like, oh, that's a snake. No, it can't be a snake. It's not. Oh, it's another stick. It was just things that were like,
Yeah.
like not real, but almost plausible.
Yeah. Inanimate objects are moving in your brain.
Or like I would see real things. I would see like a moss pattern on a rock. And I'd be like, that moss pattern looks like an elephant. And then I would come close and be like, no, it doesn't really look like an elephant. But I knew it was a moss pattern on a rock.
Yeah.
It was just like the least interesting hallucinations that you could have.
Yeah. That's so funny. Dang. So like when you're pushing yourself through a night of like slightly hallucinating, you're probably 70, 80 miles into a race. What is like the motivation in there? Like when, like, I'm assuming you're in a deep state of suffering at that point. What is going on in your mental framework that just keeps your steps going in front of you?
I have short-term memory loss, and so I forget that I can stop.
Okay.
So I just
you just throw away the key.
I just no, I don't know. That's a good question. I gotta think of a deep answer.
I mean, it might not be deep. I mean, it kind of gets to like, what's your why? Like, how can you find a yes when everything in your body is telling you no?
I think there's a lot of curiosity for me.
Okay.
It's a lot of curiosity about what's going to happen and how far I can go and what that's going to feel like. Again, that movement exploration.
Yeah.
Exploring movement, studying it, being curious about what I can do, finding my limits. I think I also do, like I joked about the short-term memory loss, but I break things down into really bite-sized pieces.
Okay.
Like I really don't look too much into the future of, oh, it's another 100 miles to go.
Yeah.
It's just get to the next aid station, get to the top of the next climb, get to the bottom of the next climb.
Sure.
And then thinking also a lot about like individual goals. Like I've got a blister, I need to get to the aid station, I need to fix that blister.
Well, yeah, you're managing like so much at the same time.
Yeah, and for me, breaking it down that way and being really curious about the pain, curious about the experience.
Yeah.
Also, like positivity is huge.
Okay.
Just it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's like a very selfish act already. You're just going out there. Hey, I mean, it's, like you're not really helping anyone doing an ultra. It's just having a good time, pushing your limits and exploring.
Okay.
And so when you go into it and just be like, wow, I'm so lucky to be able to be out here in these beautiful mountains,
Yeah.
meeting cool people, like pushing my body.
Yeah.
That helps a lot.
Yeah. So your mental framework was fairly like positive towards this of like, I'm suffering a lot, but this is also an insane privilege that I even can do this.
I felt really positive. Actually, mentally, I felt really positive pretty much the whole time.
Okay. Sick.
I don't think I ever was like really unhappy.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
That is a feat of strength.
I was in pain, but I wasn't unhappy.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like I'm kind of in my head. The chapter is like mile 80. You're in the dark second night. Is that like roughly timeline accurate?
Yeah, probably pretty accurate.
Okay. So you're kind of running into the sunrise and to the finish of this race. Well, first of all, I guess one preliminary question to that is like, what was the hardest point of this whole thing for you?
The hardest point is I was really worried about my IT band.
Okay.
That I had done really light mileage going in, mostly focusing on rehab and not as much on training to like get my body used to running that much mileage.
Yeah.
Really, really painful knee injury. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but for me, IT band syndrome has been very annoying.
Yeah.
And I was really worried that it was going to blow out. And then mile 70, my knee went out and my speed just dropped drastically. I could not run the downhills. I was like,
well, when you say your knee went out, what do you mean?
So IT band syndrome, from what I understand, that IT band runs from your just below your knee to your hip.
Yeah.
And your quads attached to it and your glutes and a few other smaller muscles. And they pull tension on it. And when you're running downhill, you're stopping the force of your body deaccelerating.
Yeah.
And so my quads are proportionally stronger than my glutes.
Yeah.
And I think I've overtrained them a little and undertrained my glutes. And so it just pulled the IT band really tight. And so every time I bent my knee, it just rubs over like a nerve bundle or something. And it just like sends pain shooting through the knee.
Oh my gosh. And there was just like a very noticeable moment, like mile 70, where it's just all of a sudden.
It was like perfect. And then I'm coming into the aid station that's the last aid station that you go back to for the last 4 climbs. So you climb mountain, go back to the aid station, climb mountain, and go back to the aid station.
Yeah. Wow.
And mile 70 was just, oh no. I felt it
Immediately.
Yeah, limped down to the aid station, and then it just like seized up, and just every downhill step was super painful.
Did you like sit down and kind of like analyze it a little bit at the aid station, or did you kind of just try to breeze through it and not think about it?
I just like breathed through it, stretched it out a little, and then just like kept walking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you were kind of cooking a little bit till mile 70, and then you slowed down quite a bit.
I slowed down drastically because one of my strengths in running and trail running is downhill running.
Okay.
And I was really saving my gas tank. This is one of the things that was really hard. I was really saving my gas tank for the last 4 climbs. They're the steepest. They're the most technical. They're very hard to run.
Yeah.
They're just loose gravel. There's like fall potential on a few of them. And I love that terrain. I'm very comfortable on it.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to really pass some people.
Okay.
On those, I was already keeping a good pace. I had more in the tank. I was ready to go down on those.
Yeah.
And then my knee went out, and I couldn't even walk the downhills properly.
Yeah.
I would take a couple steps, and then my knee would seize up, and I'd breathe it out.
Do you have like poles?
I had poles, yeah.
Okay.
So I pushed it as long as I could. I kind of did the first climb and a half, like just gritting my teeth through it, and then at that point, I had to start crutching it with the poles, where you just like are kind of like leaning, hopping on the downhills. The uphills, it's not as bad. It's like on the downhills, it was like 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
And on the uphills, it's like a 5 or something. So
for like what?
For
10
another
hours straight?
Yeah, for another 30 miles. So like it hurts, and it's unpleasant, but you can kind of just, hike it through. It's not stopping you from hiking. And then on the downhills, it was just like, oh, that hurts.
Just trying not to cry.
Yeah, there was crying.
There was crying. I can imagine.
Mostly howling. I like to make a lot of vocalizations.
Really?
That
helps you.
I think it helps me. It's really
Just, like,
annoying
bark like a
to other
dog and
people.
stuff.
Yeah, just like, oh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so mile 70, you get murked, you slow down a bunch, and is this in the nighttime as well?
This is like the evening going into the night. So I kind of make 10 more miles in the night with my knee
this is
hurting.
like the worst night of your life.
No, I was pretty happy. I had a good time.
You're still like, oh, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I was lucky.
That's so sick.
It was a pretty good time.
Okay, and so walk me through like once you're kind of closing in on the finish and realizing you're about to like complete 100 miles. Like what was that finish moment like for you?
I was in so much pain. I kind of hiked up the last climb. There was 2 other runners with me. We kind of kept pace with each other going to the top. We're talking. We get to the top. I have to go to the downhill. I just cannot keep up with them on the downhill.
Yeah.
It just hurts so bad. They leave me. I'm in the dark, and it was just, I want to get this over with. And so I'm just crutching as fast as I possibly can. Just trying to grit my teeth through it. I stopped 3 or 4 times, stretched it out.
Yeah.
But it was just all about, okay, like it's time to end this now.
Just make it happen.
And also, I kind of at that point, because the thing is, I do a lot of running, I do a lot of training, and your foot gets used to the rubbing of your shoe. But when you're crutching, you're landing in different like foot patterns.
Yeah.
And so your foot is rubbing in different ways.
muscles.
And so like at that point, like your feet are blistering up way more.
Ugh.
And just like, and I kind of knew I had 10 miles left. So it was like, I'm not going to waste time doing blister care.
Yeah.
I was really on top of it the whole race.
Bleed through it.
Yeah. It's okay. Now it's the time you just let yourself hurt and just push.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so are you finishing like basically as the sun is rising then?
No, I finished totally in the dark, like 2 or 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang. And so, like you're closing in on the finish line. Like what's going through your head?
I'm closing in on the finish line. I catch up to one of the people as it kind of gets a little flatter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, and
okay.
then,
Walk me through that.
Yeah. I catch up with him. So I was like stoked to see him, but I still couldn't move that fast.
Yeah.
We start pacing each other again. We're walking together. We get to the flat section. I said, all right, well, do you mind if we like race this out?
You asked him?
Yeah.
That's
like,
so polite.
I was like, yeah, let's go for it. I was like, yeah, all right, sweet. We're going to push. And so we kind of get going faster. He starts jogging again.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of limping. And then, we see the finish line. I just took off sprinting as fast as I could.
Oh.
Sprinting finish, come in. And that was that. It was great.
Where was did you like leave him in the dust? Like, was he with you?
No, he was like seconds behind me, like 30 seconds.
No way. So you like are neck and neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
after 100 miles with the dude.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like the next person that finished was like 2 hours behind you guys or something.
The time gaps are like huge. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
but you just so happen to beat a guy by like 2 seconds.
yeah, it's hilarious. A sprint finish in a ultra is
Makes no
hilarious.
sense.
It's silly.
It's just like
It's
a
just
meme.
dumb silly. Yeah.
Okay, so you get across the finish line, and then are you on the ground? Are you?
I'm like my partner's there, my friend's there. I'm like saying hi. I'm just super excited. They like give you a little like belt trophy.
Okay.
A
belt, like a
it's like an
a weightlifting
ornate,
belt?
like custom made, like cowboy belt.
No
That's
way.
the medal. I can show you.
That's so sick. I'd
Yeah.
love to see. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just really celebrating with people,
Cool.
with my partner, and everyone is just happy. And then sit down, and then food, take those shoes off.
Yeah.
What blister care.
Yeah. What was taking your shoes off like?
It was great. It was fantastic. I was a little scared to look at my feet. I was just like, but they were way better than I thought. Actually,
sick.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
I had like 2 blisters that popped and like 3 or 4 other blisters.
Nice.
And then 1 like blood blister in the back of my foot.
Okay.
Way better than I thought. It was
Yeah.
amazing. And layer up. I start shivering immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as I stopped.
Huh. Was it like really cold out or something?
No, I think it's just like you're working really hard. Your body's been working hard the whole time.
Yeah.
And so it's trying to cool you down.
Yeah.
And you're a little wet. You got the sweat on you, but the night's actually decently cool.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you stop, your body's still like, oh, sweet, awesome. Cool them down as much as we can. We're stopping for
It
a
needs
second.
a while to like chill out.
Yeah. And it's trying to like catch up on that. And then
Yeah.
and you're just like, whew. So
Yeah.
change out of wet clothes, take your shoes off,
Yep.
ate some food, and just kind of sat there and just like talked to other people and celebrated.
You had
them.
energy for that.
Yeah. 2 of the things that were kind of funny. One, a lot of the aid station people nicknamed me the like smiley runner.
Really?
Yeah, when my knee like went out, I heard one of them just like talking on the radio and they're like, hey, do we have like this kind of blister care or something? I'm like, the smiley runner is really struggling
The
right
guy
now.
who's stoked.
Yeah. Like that was hilarious. Like
That's so sick. That's a good thing to be known about.
yeah, the smiley runner. And
Yeah.
then the other one was people, I would come to an aid station, they would be like, you're so lucid. Because it'd be like, what do you need? What can I get you? Oh, well, I don't know. My feet are pretty good, but maybe I could use a roll of tape here.
Yeah.
And, can I get this one with electrolyte and this one with water? And they're like talking in full sentences. And I'm like, I guess people aren't talking in full sentences.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious, like in your head, like when you hear feedback of like you're different than other people who run ultra marathons and nobody really does stuff like this. Like, how do you internalize that? What does that mean to you?
I don't know. I think I have this balance in my life of like, one, had some like being diagnosed as autistic when I was a kid. So there is like some indication of like, I know that my brain doesn't always work the same way as other people.
Yeah.
So I always take that into account. But the others that I tend to look at the world largely from like a sociological perspective of like, I look at how do people react to things? I will probably react that way.
Yeah.
And then train or adjust accordingly.
Sure.
So I think I like take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
And my approach to training is just, it's hard to find motivation to train. You're probably going to want to quit. So commit to training with friends,
Yeah.
remove distractions, always train when you can, and find these ways of assume you're going to make the same mistakes everyone else does, and then find ways to game that and
Yep.
look at ways that like other people are successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Looking forward now after you've finished your first 100-miler, like what do you want the next, I don't know, 1 to 5 years to look like as far as your running career goes? Like what's dream scenario for you?
I'd really love to try and get some like fun mountain FKTs that involve some running, scrambling.
What's FKTs?
Fastest known time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I would really love to see how far I can take it. Just
Yeah.
pushing my limit on ultras, see if I can get past his knee injuries and like what I can place
Yeah.
without that limitation.
Yeah, because you haven't technically finished like a super long run without one of those.
No, I've only done 1 ultra without a knee injury. I did 3
Yeah.
ultras. 2 of them I had to walk the back half.
Ugh. Yeah.
I really want to see what I can do. I am like really excited about it. I'm really optimistic and motivated.
Yeah.
you
What are kind of your like marching orders now with your knees? Like what can be done to kind of bulletproof them for next time?
Ton of rehab, a lot of glute strengthening, a lot of stretching.
Yeah.
Then adding, as I start to feel better, adding some weightlifting. I also like theorized that I've switched like largely to inline movement with running, whereas before I did a ton of martial arts and a ton of dance.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very dynamic movement. You're using a lot of stabilizing muscles. So
Right.
kind of work those. As I got more serious about ultra, I've moved more towards the running, hiking training.
Yeah.
So I think pull those components back in, especially while I'm doing rehab, pick up the stabilizing muscles, just get that dynamic movement.
Right.
I think theoretically that might help.
It's a good recipe.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
fun. And it's like a good way to like take time off from running and
Yeah.
just give your body a break.
For sure.
Do
Do
more Muay Thai.
What?
Do more Muay Thai.
More Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Yeah, always a good thing. I want to kind of wrap this up a little bit. So for someone like me who's kind of like running 4 miles and that is hard for them but enjoys running, what would you say to someone who sort of has those aspirations to get in a marathon, to get in maybe an Ironman or their first ultra, and they like, to me, that's like this, only the immortals can do that kind of thing. What would you kind of say to someone who like has the interest but kind of doubts themselves in it?
Anyone can do a marathon without training. No,
You are the least helpful voice for this.
just do it.
Just freaking do it.
No, I actually
That's
do
so
want to.
sick.
I want to like want to demystify it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like when you're running an ultra, you're going a lot slower. So like if you're trying to run an ultra fast and go first, there's like a really hard physical capacity that has to be there.
Sure.
But lots of people with lots of different age groups, physical limitations, go and finish these ultras. I think the oldest person to finish the Ouray 100 one of the years was 60 years old. And it's like your body can really do so
Wow.
much more than you think it can.
Yeah.
And I would say the biggest thing is consistency in training.
Yeah.
Not expedited training of like get really motivated, do a ton of training right now, but just like stay healthy, like gradually work towards a goal.
Yeah.
And don't let it scare you, because
Mm.
I do want to like demystify the ultra a little bit and just be like people are like, I can't even imagine. It's like your body's capable of a lot more than you realize.
Yeah. Very cool.
I don't know if that was helpful, but
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Soren, this has been amazing.
It's been
Thank
a
you
pleasure.
for making time for it. And I'm sure a ton of people are going to really appreciate hearing this story because it's freaking wild. And I know I did. So thanks for your time, bro.
cheers.
Cheers. Whew. The guy's a maniac. Thank you guys for watching. I totally appreciate it. If you guys made it all the way into this, I just can't believe this dude, and I just had so much fun chatting with him, so I hope you had just as much fun listening to this. If you liked it and would like to see more interview content and some more of me just chatting with my friends, make sure to subscribe. I will be featuring a lot more people like Soren in the future, so please stay tuned.